Chandler-Estes, and I will be presenting my presentation. Let me share my screen. Okay, I am going to start from the beginning and show. Okay, as I said, I'm covering Chapter 2, Goals and Objectives. And here I just listed kind of the difference between goals and objectives. Goals are more of your generalized, inclusive statements about what is to be learned, whereas your objectives are more specific about what is going to be learned and done. Goals are intangible, whereas objectives are tangible. Your goals are abstract. It's more like a vision and what you're going to accomplish, whereas your objectives are very concrete. Your goals cannot be confirmed and they're not measurable, whereas objectives are able to be confirmed and measured. You can say this is what the student will be analyzing, whatever, and you can give the activity that they're going to do to measure and look at data to measure if they accomplish that objective. Goals are written before the analysis process is done and before the objectives are written, whereas the objectives are written from before the instruction, obviously, because you want to set the tone for what your students are going to learn, and it's written before the analysis is even done. Your goals are written from the perspective of the instructor or the administrator or the instructional coach, and really objectives are written more from the student's perspective. Your objectives tell your learners exactly what they are going to do and how they are going to do it. And that way, you'll be able to know and they'll be able to know if they've accomplished the objective that you set before them. Objectives can change. They should change with different weeks, different units, different lessons. Whatever the skill is that you're teaching, your objective should match that. Your objectives often use those verbs, those action verbs. The student will analyze, the student will demonstrate. So they use those verbs to explain what the intended behavior or the action is that they are going to perform. And objectives to me are so important, especially as I'm heading into the curriculum and administration area. I feel like that is something that if your students do not know what they are supposed to learn, then what is the point? Instructional goals and objectives are considered to be the heart of instruction. If you don't have goals for your students, for your class, for your course, and then follow those up with objectives each and every day or each week or each unit, then you're not going to know the direction you're going, and your students sure aren't going to know the direction that you're going. Various words can be interchanged for the word objectives. We've all heard, different words that people use, student learning objective, SLO, or AIMS, or whatever it is, it can be used, but overall, it's the student's objective. Teachers, administrators, and instructional coaches who are involved in writing goals often use the same system of guidelines when writing and reviewing those goals. So they mentioned in our book the different, that there was a guideline and it listed a table with the guidelines. And in a second, I'll show you some ideas that I found also through research. It is very important to ask questions to check if the goal is actually suitable for the learning outcome. Choosing those goals are most useful in the objectives if you use very specific language. Your students should be able to know exactly what you're looking for. So fluffing it up with all those fancy words or, things that really aren't specific is only going to confuse them. So very specific language. And I found it very interesting in the book. And there was a lot in the book about the different responsibilities of the school. And, there's different arguments where should the U.S. schools have the full responsibility of teaching, like the home ec classes, the lessons where the people go home and take the babies and how to be a parent. And, is that really the school's responsibility? And so that is an argument that it talked about in the book. But we do, as in the United States, tend to have a very wide range of responsibilities. And the argument is, do we assume too much responsibility? Do we not leave enough responsibility for the outside world when they go into the workforce or when they, become adults on their own? So it's an argument. I will not say my opinion there, but it is definitely something that some states have even adopted a set of goals that they reassess every 5 years with different aims that are geared towards self-esteem and how to understand and how to treat others. And so those are actual goals that they, there were like 12 goals, I think, that the book mentioned that one state had, for their students. And so it's interesting. Setting goals can be difficult because you have to consider the limited time, the resources, and all the other weighing factors that are on schools. So if you have a specific objective that you're wanting to accomplish, you have to make sure that you have enough time for that objective to, follow through with it all the way. And you also have to make sure that you have resources available to you at your school to be able to accomplish that. So you just want to make sure when you're setting your goals and objectives that you consider all of the different factors that play into it. Your learning objectives should guide the planning of your activities and your assessments on this. If your activities and your assessments do not match what you are teaching and your objectives do not go along with that, there is no reason to write an objective. So you have to follow through with appropriate activities and assessments that follow with your objectives. Just a piece of advice and something that I found in research, and I've used it professionally, is Bloom's taxonomy offers great action verbs when you are writing those learning objectives for your students, or maybe you're the instructional coach and you're the one helping the teacher write those objectives using the different Blooms. And you don't want to stay on one level because it's not offering a variety of rigor for your students, but using those are a great resource when you're writing your objectives. The ABC model of learning objectives, I found this while I was looking at different websites and things. And the ABC model is just a common learning objective model that is used by many educators to establish their objectives. A stands for audience. Who's the learning behavior geared towards? B is the behavior. What should that student be able to do or accomplish? C is a condition. Under what condition should the learner be able to do it? And D is degree. How well must the behavior be able to be done? Must they have to master it? Should they just show a 70%? What degree is your expectation for that student? And so that was just an easy way for me to remember when writing learning objectives, or, maybe I'm observing or evaluating a teacher who has written learning objectives. And as a good instructional practice, a learning objective should be written for each and every behavior or lesson that you wish to measure. So if you're assessing something or if you're teaching something, you should have a learning objective that goes along with that. That's just good instructional practice. And these are my citations. I use the book and 2 other sources to help with my research. Thank you so much.